Hey, it's Dr. Shelley, and you're scheduled for an endometrial ablation in the office, along with a hysteroscopy, which is the look-see portion, right? And so the reminder, that is where we look inside the uterus, and then we put the instrument inside, but it opens up, and it looks like a plastic, like almost like a condom, and it heats up, and it basically um, fries the lining of the uterus. And that, remember, the lining of the uterus is the only thing that bleeds. So if we can destroy the lining of the uterus, then we can significantly improve bleeding. And if we're lucky, we end up with no periods at all. Bonus. Okay, so that's the procedure that you're actually having done. And if you've had a hysteroscopy DNC recently in the office, which is what I normally do ahead of this procedure, then some of what I'm going to say is going to be a repetition, but that's okay. Sometimes hearing things multiple times is a good thing. So anyway, the main thing is to remember the risks that go with any surgery, including the endometrial ablation. And so that's the risk of infection if you are a diabetic, or if you have a history of high sugars, then I should give you an antibiotic to use. Otherwise, I do not routinely give antibiotics with endometrial ablation. With any surgery, there's a risk of bleeding. This actually is using heat, and we also use lidocaine with epinephrine, which is a what we call a vasoconstrictor. So really, there is not any significant bleeding that is associated with this procedure unless you already came in and you were bleeding. Um, damage to adjacent organs. Remember, the bladder's there, the bowels there, the uterus is there, the blood vessels are there, the vagina is there. We are not trying to hurt any of those areas, but we have to tell you that that is a risk. The risk for the uterine perforation, which is putting a hole in the uterus as we are going in and exploring the cavity before we do the ablation, and even during the ablation, but that doesn't really occur, um, is possible. So the key thing with that's an important one, because if there is any thought that there's an endometrial ablation, then the procedure has to stop. And the machine has safety devices on there to protect you. And so that gets really annoying, right? Because if we have to stop the procedure that you've been waiting all this time to get done, I mean, most women that are getting this procedure, are sick and tired of bleeding. And so they can't wait to get to this endometrial ablation. And then if I have to tell you during the procedure that we have to stop it because there is a detection of a possible leak, or perforation, then it can be very frustrating and upsetting. But remember, your safety is the most important thing. And if the machine deployed and ignored the warning, and there really was truly a perforation, which means a hole between your uterus and on the other side, then that means that not only would we ablate burn the lining of the uterus, we could actually burn what's on the other side, like your bowel or your bladder. And that is really bad. And that can land you up in the intensive care unit, and if possibly could kill you. So it's kind of important that we do not override the safety devices. And so this is a known quote unquote complication of endometrial ablation. It does occur, thank God it doesn't occur that often. But I do get people that show up in my office and they go, oh, it didn't work, the doctor messed up. No, that's a known complication, and it's not a big deal, except for it means you can't get your surgery that day. But remember, the uterus is a muscle, it heals very nicely. Stop the procedure, bring you back 6 weeks later, do the same procedure again, and get great results. And just because you had a uterine perforation the first time does not mean that you'll have it the second time. So hopefully that does not occur, but I do like to set the stage ahead of time so that you are aware, so that that's not like the first time you've heard it, when we're walking into the surgery, and if that occurred, okay? And then of course the risk with any surgery of deep venous thrombosis, which is the blood clots in the legs. If the blood clot in the leg broke off and went to the lungs, or the fluid that we use in the uterus ended up in the lungs and in the vasculature, then once again, that's bad. We don't want that to happen. And with any surgery, once again, there's a risk of death. You take your life in your hands every time you get behind the wheel of a car, and we do it multiple times a day, and we do not expect that there's going to be anything bad that happens to you with this simple procedure, but we have to tell you that because that's what we have to say with any surgery that's being performed, whether it's this simple procedure or whether it's a major surgery. Okay. Um, the day of surgery, remember, we will have you take the medication, the Cytotec, if you're not bleeding at all, and you're not feeling like you're about to go into a period, then we will have you take the Cytotec. If the surgery's in the morning, you will take the Cytotec the night before. If your surgery's in the afternoon, you will take the Cytotec when you wake up that morning. You will eat your breakfast the day of surgery, and you will take your medications, especially any blood pressure medicine and any sugar medication, because I will cancel your surgery if your blood pressure is too high. So really important that you are being good about taking your medications. You should do that anyway, but definitely in the weeks leading up to your surgery. Um, you do not take anything that upsets your stomach, like cholesterol medicine or anything like that, that you don't have to take, because you will be home in a couple of hours, and you can certainly do that at a later time. Um, it is important that you eat breakfast and that you do not take any pain medication at home, because I'm going to give you pain medication when you come to the office, and I don't want to have interference from anything else that you might have taken at home for pain. Remember, if your surgery is in the afternoon, not only are you going to eat breakfast, you're going to also eat your lunch, because we're going to get nervous from having to have the procedure. And then if I also haven't eaten, then that's a double whammy, and that can make me pass out. And our floors are tile and hard, and we do not need your head coming into contact with any of those. Um, the you're going to bring a throw blanket, and you're going to bring some fuzzy socks. Remember, it often can get really cold. It is better to have those things available and not use them than to be sitting there for 2 hours wishing that you did. Plan to be in the office for 2 hours. And we Remember your driver. We would like you to have a driver for the endometrial ablation. The benefit of that is that even if we are doing the laughing gas, and which is the nitrous oxide, then yes, technically you don't have to have a driver. But if you were in any if you were having more pain than anticipated, then if you have a driver with you, then I can give you the narcotic painkiller. If you don't have a driver, or something for anxiety, if you don't have a driver with you, then we can't. And or what we have to do is just have a driver available, so that if I did need to reach for any of the bigger guns, that your car could stay at the office, and they could take you home and come back and get your car later. So as long as you either have a driver bring you, and or have a driver available if they were needed, then I am fine with that. Also, you will know from the first procedure, if you did fabulously with the laughing gas, and I said you'd be a great candidate for getting procedures done in the office, then you probably can get away without actually having to have a driver. But if I said, this isn't good, then you know that you're going to need a driver. And that's okay. You should have already been given a prescription for pain medicine and for a narcotic. You need that filled before the surgery. This is not the kind of surgery where you're going to say, let me just leave the narcotic prescription unfilled, or I'll pick it up later from the pharmacy if I need it. You're going to need it. Let me be clear. When all of the pain, all the numbing medicine, all the pain medicine that we give you during the surgery wears off, your uterus says, holy crap, somebody just burnt the crap out of me. And it starts to cramp like all get go. And if you are then trying to send somebody out to the pharmacy to fill that medicine at that point, it's too late. It's too late. By the time they get to the pharmacy, fill it, and get home, the worst is already over. So please trust me. I needed you to be high and happy 6 hours after the surgery. And the way to do that is to have both the non-steroidal prescription that I've given you and the narcotic prescription filled. And that's why we have you take the day off after surgery, so that you feel comfortable using the narcotic after the surgery and not worrying about being woozy the next morning. Okay? Um, and I do want you to bring your narcotic pill with you, and any anxiety medicine with you on the day of surgery, so that if we need to use it, that we can. What else? Let's see. Is there anything else that we need to go over? We already went over food. We went over your blankie and what to bring with you, and your pain medicine and the side attack. So this should be a prescription. You should have prescriptions once again for side attack, for pain medicine if I haven't already given those to you previously, and for the narcotic. To use for the surgery. So I think that covers everything. As far as the surgery is concerned, if I forgot anything, then if you have any questions about all of anything that's been discussed, then please let me know. Remember, like I said, the ablation is meant to improve bleeding. If you're lucky, it will take the periods completely away, but that is not guaranteed. And I will see you on surgery day. Please contact the surgery scheduler if after watching this video you still have continued questions, or if you've read the consent form and you are concerned. And I will see you on surgery day if I don't talk to you sooner.